the basil of the house, the caring, sensible, loving wife, the first woman to embrace Islam, the mother of the believers, Khadijah bint Khuwaylid. The time of the Yemen caravan approached, and after a few days, a bringer of good tidings arrived, announcing the arrival of the caravan, so the movement increased in Khadijah's house. The stores prepared to receive the new goods, and many of those who were accustomed to visiting Khadijah when the caravan arrived came to the house to receive what she had bestowed upon them. The maids became active, and each one of them reminded her of her promise of the precious masterpiece of Yemen's woven fabric. When the caravan arrived, Khadijah's goods were transported to her stores, just as the goods of every merchant were transported to his stores. She sat with her men, hearing from them the news of the trip and the news of money. She asked them, and they answered. Then they conveyed to her the greetings of her clients, who admired and wished to see her, whereas she was smiling at what she heard. When her workers completed their conversations, and she was informed from them about what she wanted, she gave them what they deserved of wages and what was stipulated for them in terms of share in the profits. She did not deprive anyone of anything of his rights, but rather she increased what they stipulated. So they went out happy, thanking her for her generosity and good treatment. Then she went to her stores, took a look at the goods, took some antiques, and presented them to her maids. They danced happily. Then each of them sat next to the other to show her her fabric, its pattern, and the distinctive color it had, whether it was bright white or very red. Each one of them created something special in her gift, even if all the gifts were of equal quality. Then Khadijah was preparing for the summer trip, which would take the goods of Yemen to the Levant, and men came to her offering their services and asking her to send them in her trade. The workers were packing the goods and preparing the camels, the water bladders, and the containers of provisions. She personally supervised everything, big and small, and directed to what should be taken and what should be left behind. When the time of departure approached, Abu Talib ibn Abd al-Muttalib ibn Hashim, the master of Mecca, went to her. She met him with respect, and they sat talking about the caravan's matters, trade, profit, loss, the useful effort that hard workers put in, and the stagnation of trade that negligent people bring about. Khadijah spoke fluently about her workers, her trade, and about many of those who helped her, the extent of the sincerity of each of them in their work, and the impact of this sincerity on the prosperity of trade, the abundance of profits, and the wages and rewards they receive. Abu Talib was very pleased with her understanding of finer points of matters and her insight into the points of benefit and harm. He praised her work, her care for her workers, and her good choice of the men to whom she entrusted her money. The conversation branched out and went from one side to another, from one type of goods to another, and from one man to another, until Abu Talib found the opportunity to talk about what he came for. His nephew Muhammad ibn Abdullah reached 25 and did not marry, because he had no money to help him get married. He was herding sheep for the people of Mecca, because he grew up poor, even though his father was Abdullah ibn Abd al-Muttalib, the master of Mecca. So his uncle thought about finding him work more profitable than herding sheep, so that he could use its bounty to get married and build a new family. So he went to Khadijah to ask her for a job for him, and when he had the opportunity to talk about his intention, he said with a smile, "What do you think, Khadijah, about Muhammad ibn Abdullah, my nephew? Do you think he is good to do some of your work in the Levant's caravan that is preparing to leave?" Khadijah's heart beat, and she felt the impact of this name on her heart. Muhammad had filled the ears with his honesty, sincerity, faithfulness in his work, and his distance from the way which the youth of Mecca took. His beauty and strength did not lead him to what others like him turned to. So he was an example of chastity and purity. Khadijah said with a smile, "The one who is like Muhammad, trusts are entrusted to him, and he is trusted. But he has never tried the bath before." Abu Talib reassured her that he knew the bath, because he was his companion on it when he was 10 years old. He understood it and was more aware of it than others who were older than him. He was strong and able to withstand travel and its hardships, and he had experience in trade and its affairs. He was a skilled accountant, a planner, and a thinker. Herding sheep taught him precision, patience, and good management of matters. Khadijah was listening to Abu Talib, with her mind swimming with the days, remembering the day Muhammad was born, the joy of his grandfather Abdul Muttalib, and her sharing in this joy with Mecca when she was 14 years old. Then she saw the people of Mecca before that, as they prevented Abdul Muttalib from slaughtering his son Abdullah, and she remembered from afar the day of slaughter and the great ransom. It was the ransom for Abdullah with 100 camels. His father had vowed that if he had 10 male children, he would slaughter one of them. When he had 10, he fulfilled his vow. The lottery fell on Abdullah, so he ransomed him with 100 camels slaughtered for the poor and needy. Then she saw her wedding night, which Mecca celebrated, and before that it had not held weddings, sharing with Abdul Muttalib in his grief for Abdullah, until it was her wedding night, and Abdul Muttalib was happy for the birth of Muhammad ibn Abdullah. Then she remembered how Muhammad grew up as an orphan, how he lost his mother when he was young after his father's death, and how he walked the straight path, even though he was an orphan of father and mother. She found her lips repeating with joy, "I agree, Abu Talib. If you had asked this for someone far away, we would have responded. So what do you think of the beloved who is near?" Abu Talib was relieved. He was silent for a little while. He looked at Khadijah with thanks, then he tried to speak. She understood what he wanted to say, so she quickly smiled. "I will fulfill your wish, Abu Talib," she said. "I will not make the reward of Muhammad the same as the reward of those who engage in my trade. I will give him twice what they take. The value of Muhammad is not like the value of the people. Muhammad is great among people, and his reward must be equal to his status." Abu Talib thanked her again. Then he asked her permission to leave to break the news to his nephew. He went quickly to the house of Muhammad ibn Abdullah. Muhammad was pleased with what his uncle had told him of Khadijah's talk. His uncle advised him to go to her house to see what she would order. So he went to her. But more about that first meeting next time.